How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to New Mexico State Men's Basketball News. I'm Marshall, and today we're going to talk about how the Aggies' second half effort yesterday was unfortunately not enough as they fell to the Tulsa Golden Hurricane, 83-70. They were down by 23 at one point, 41-18, down 49-27 at halftime. Got the game within 7 points at one point, but ended up falling by 13. We're going to talk about the game right now. The Aggies started the game strong with a nice lob from Gabe to Juice for a dunk, and that's something I said that, I didn't want them to do a whole lot early on, but that one was a set play. They designed it very well, worked out beautifully. Coming out of the second half, they went to Malonga for the, paint finish. He got fouled and made 2 free throws. So there's a couple things that, I kind of talked about last video that they did. But after that, first dunk that they had, Tulsa just couldn't miss. They hit their first 5 threes. I think they hit their first 4. They missed one. They made another one. They went up 15-6 early, made it 22-6, made it 25-9. I think the Aggies got it within 25-15, and then they built a big lead. One of their players got a huge dunk over Jalen Randall. First respect to Jalen for being there for, I know he got dunked on and stuff. People are going to clown him and all that, but he was there for the defense. Jalen, I wish he would play a little bit better overall. He got the free throw line, made a few, missed a few. He's one of those guys I can't tell just yet how good of a free throw shooter he can be. I know he's supposed to be a good free throw shooter. He's a good offensive player overall. He's been kind of inconsistent here and there. I feel like he's a guy that I think Coach Hoon was talking about in the press conference earlier this week, or last week, I guess you could say it's already Sunday, talking about how Jalen Randall's a guy that could start for us. Right now, he's one of our leading scorers. Speaking of leading scorers, Jamel Jones, he didn't lead us in scoring yesterday, had 14 points, but missed 2 free throws. And again, he missed 3 free throws the game before that, missed 2 free throws in the game early on in the year. Just not uncharacteristic of him. I'm sure he'll bounce back and make those shots more consistently. He had a big 3, to cut it with, I think, 11 points at one point yesterday. But then just couldn't hit a whole lot of clutch shots. I think he got to the rim or hit a midi. I was really happy with how Sir Malonga played. He's a guy that I talked about last video, talking about how I really wanted to have a dominant performance. And so he did just that against a really good Tulsa team. Didn't have a whole lot of bigs. They're more of a guard team, kind of like us. But he took advantage of that. Had 13 points, his second highest amount of points this season, behind the first game against Adams State, where he had 16. He went 5 for 8 from the free throw line, which isn't great, but at the same time, compared to what he's been shooting earlier in the year, he's only shooting 40% from the line prior to that. So definitely some improvement, and I'll take that. I think it was kind of funny with the commentators too. They were good at the game, I'll give it to them, but I think they called Gabe Pickens and Jacoby Osborne both freshmen. And I talking about how Gabe started like 30 games last year. I'm like, Gabe played in 30 games and didn't start any of them. He's a sophomore now. They're calling Jacoby a freshman. I understand it's a simple mistakes. Maybe they had like the roster from last year or something. But it was funny because they're calling them freshmen, and they're like, oh yeah, the only 2 returns from last year, but they're freshmen. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Unless they thought they redshirted last year or something. I don't know. That obviously wasn't the case. Jacoby, at the beginning of the year wasn't playing a whole lot and then started playing a lot more toward the end of the year. I know they're not going to know everything about their team. I thought that was kind of funny, but I believe Lawrence, our SID, did end up correcting them because they mentioned it during the game how they fixed it and stuff and how the SID told them. So shout out to Lawrence for that. I feel like the box score, you look at the shooting percentages, you might not think the Aggies played a good game overall, but I honestly thought they played hard and well. I didn't think they played a horrible game overall. It's just Tulsa early on. We were playing good. I thought we were defending the 3 for the most part. Yeah, there's times we could have closed out a little bit better, but for the most part, we didn't allow them to get too many open looks. They just made everything. Got to a super hot start. Started the second half, we got up to a big start. If it wasn't for that big start by Tulsa, we would have had a lot better chance of winning that game or competing more. Going into halftime, we were down by 20 plus. I knew our chances of winning weren't high even going into the game, but especially going into that second half, knew they weren't high. So I was just telling myself, I was like, hey, if the Aggies can get this to a 10 to 15 point game and only lose by about that much, I'll feel a lot better going into conference. And they did just that. There's a lot of other teams in conference today looking really good right now. Sam Houston's playing pretty well, our first opponent. Thankfully, we're at home. It sucks it is right before Christmas, and the students won't be here and stuff. I'm leaving on Tuesday to go back home for family, for the break and all that. So I won't be there at the game, but I'll definitely be watching and rooting for them. I know Aggie Nation is a bunch of obviously big Aggie fans here in town during the break and stuff that will show up for the game. That's what they've done the past few years, and let's even keep the trend going of winning the first game in conference. Winning conference is definitely possible. Conference USA is always open, especially with us picked, to finish third. I believe Kennesaw State's only lost 2 games in the year. Liberty's lost 3. They have the same record as us. So anything's possible. You can obviously lose the first game in conference and still win it overall. But I think winning the first game in conference is always a big thing to do. And we've been seeing the lineup. I think the commentators said it yesterday too, how the Aggies have been playing about 10 to 11 guys each night. Expect that number to dwindle slightly, maybe to like 9 or 10 or even less. We'll see. I feel like Coach will run at least a 9 to 10 man rotation. I feel like, even though other teams might only be like running about an 8-man, I think we're such a deep team that we can afford to play more of those guys. And obviously I don't want any injuries to happen, but even if there are, I think we have a deeper team to, compete with teams even if we are hurt. Talked about Juice getting those first points of the game. He actually played a really good game overall. His free throw shooting got a lot better. He had 16 points, 1 point off from a season high. He missed a layup at the end that could have gave him 18 and could have made us only lose by 11. But it is what it is at the end of the day. We still lost. It, didn't really change anything. But overall, he played well. Like I said, his free throw shooting's improved a lot. He took 2 threes that didn't look half bad. Obviously, he's not our greatest 3-point shooter in the world, but with how bad we were shooting early in the game, I was like, I'll take it, bro. His shots didn't look too bad. Elijah Elliott played a pretty solid game. Not sure how many points he finished with. Anthony hit some big shots. With Elijah, though, it's weird. I don't know if y'all watch the games and stuff, but he'll see have some shots that look super clean. They're swish, all that. They don't have a hierarchy, nice looking shot, but it's a complete air ball. I don't understand how it works sometimes. It happens. I get it, but hopefully he just improves as time goes on. He's played pretty well on the road trip. He didn't play too great against Abilene Christian, but played amazing against South Alabama, along with Jalen Randall. And after that, kind of Randall took a little bit step back, I guess you could say. So hopefully he gets back into the groove. I think being at home will help the team a lot. I think they'll feed off that energy a little bit. Same with Elijah too. I feel like he just plays a little better at home. But again, I thought he played a pretty good game against Tulsa. He just had a couple bad shots here and there. They weren't bad looks. They just didn't fall. They were just short. We had a lot of shots we were missing badly too. Anthony played well, but he had a couple really bad shots that just weren't close. CRX had played really well, finished at the rim pretty well, but a couple times he kind of just threw it up there, was looking for the foul. The officiating was a lot better, I will say, but just one of those things. We're such a good defensive team, I feel like, but just any little touch we do, anything, I feel like it's always caught a foul. It's kind of frustrating at times. But it is what it is at the end of the day. There was also kind of a controversial call, I guess you could say, where Juice, it looked like he might have got a block, but then they didn't know if it was a goaltend. It was really close. That's honestly one of the closest calls you can make, but of course, it didn't go our way. And I feel like every time there's a 50-50 play or a 50-50 call, it never goes the Aggies' way. That's just how it is. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is at the end of the day, I guess. I thought having the rest in between games would kind of help the Aggies a little bit, but clearly hasn't. They have a whole week off now until they play again this upcoming Sunday, not today, but on the 21st against Sam Houston. They'll be at home the whole time. They'll have to travel at all. Then they'll be home against Southwest. So they're going to be at home for a while. Hopefully they can get a lot of good practices in. I'm sure Coach Wooden's feeling good. I mean, it sucks you lose 3 games in a row, but they're all 2 really good teams. I think South Alabama and Abilene Christian are teams that we are better than. I think those are games that we should have won. Tulsa, though, there's a whole different breed. I mean, these are guys that, they've scored over 103 games. They're averaging 90 points per game. They're shooting really well from behind the arc. They're picked to only finish 8th in their conference. And that goes to show you that, the pre-conference, whoever picks, for who's going to win conference, what plays they're going to get, don't know anything. You look at the Aggies 2 years ago in Coach Wooden's first year. They picked us to finish second to last. We got 6th. We were tied for 5th. Or even, we were only a game behind 3rd. That's how close it was that year. You look at last year, we picked to finish 7th out of 10. We got 5th. We're tied for 4th. This year, we picked to finish 3rd. Who knows what's going to happen, right? We could get 1st. We could go last. We could be right at 3rd. I feel like that this year it's a little more respectable. But Tulsa only being picked to finish 8th in the American, and they're clearly the best team in that conference. They're 10-1. Honestly, I make the argument that they're the best G5 school out there, which is weird to say because it's not football, but you know what I mean. They're the best mid-major school out there, I feel like, because the only loss is to Kansas State. They lost by 1 point to a Power 4 program. I know Kansas State isn't out to the greatest start. There's definitely a lot better Power 4 schools out there, but for them to lose by 1 point in that game, not bad at all. And even commentators were saying that's a game that they probably should have won, and they could be 11-0 undefeated. So considering we played, we would put a really good fight. And again, we got down by 23, outscored by 16, only get down by with 7, and there's a timeout. And that's another thing too. I want us to come out of timeouts better. I feel like every time we come out of a timeout, whether we're playing bad or good prior to it, we just come out a little flat coming out of it. I know those little rests can happen. And saying yesterday with that whole goaltend, it took I swear 10 minutes for the refs to come up with an idea of what happened, just to not even change it. And we kind of came out a little sluggish from there. So it is what it is at the end of the day. Tulsa, they played a great game. Toward the end, they were missing a lot of shots and missing a lot of free throws, but they did enough to get the win. They're a great team. They have some, solid fans, I'd say. They commented on the videos and saying GGs and stuff and said that we had a good team. So that's cool, man. We're going to win a lot of games. We played some, Tulsa, we're not going to play a team like that for the rest of the year. And Liberty and Kennesaw State are not far off. They're really good as well. But that Tulsa team is just different. I feel like they beat everybody in our conference, honestly. I wouldn't say by a landslide, but maybe. You look at our next coming games, obviously the most important game is the next game, Sam Houston. That's a winnable game. Then we play against Southwest. If we lose that game, I will delete this channel. Not really. I'm not going to say. But we need to win that game. That's a game you need to win. FIU and Missouri State, they're not bad. They haven't maybe got to the greatest start, especially Missouri State. I know they've had a couple games here and there they would like to play better. But, with teams that, they don't reach what they want to reach, they're always out for revenge. And that's sometimes the scariest teams you want to play. So I feel like, winning these next 4 games are definitely doable. Right now, it's kind of looking like last year, where it was like we either go on a big winning streak or a big losing streak. Start off the year with 6 straight wins, then lose 3 straight. Like last year, we started off winning 3 straight, then lost 5 straight. So it's just how it is. Throughout the whole year, that was kind of the recipe, how it went throughout the whole season. Completely different from the first year. It was kind of on and off a little bit. We're just a lot better at home and then really bad on the road. Last year, we were pretty average on both. Conference are better on the road. Right now, we're playing better at home. We'll see how it goes, especially, starting off conference at home for the 3rd straight year is huge. Actually, the 4th straight year, maybe the 5th straight year, I don't know, but 3rd straight year under Coach Wooden, obviously. Really looking forward to see how the Aggies do then. I know they had a couple, not so great games recently, but at least in non-conference games, they don't matter as much. They still matter. They still count toward their overall record. They still have to do with trying to get to the NCAA tournament and all that, but conference is where it matters most. So they can come out and get a big win against Sam Houston, improve to 7-3, and then should have no problem going 8-3 against Southwest, and then going to FIU and Missouri State in the new year. Try to get some big wins there, get the 10 wins early on, and just keep going from there. Again, you've got to focus about that first game, and we'll talk more about that game. We'll make a, I'll probably make a video where obviously I'm previewing that game and just previewing all of conference. Honestly, I think it'd be a really fun video to do. So stay tuned for that. Let me know what your thoughts on the game was. I know there's a lot of people that were upset about it. There are also a lot of people that were kind of understanding that they knew how good of a team Tulsa was. Sucks we lost by 13. And again, I guess to show you, if we just got to a better start, kind of our football team this year a lot. If we got to a better start, we have a really good shot at winning that game, I believe. But Tulsa's a great team. That's not a team you should be ashamed of losing to. It just sucks because, again, we got within 7. And who knows, we could have kept that energy going. Maybe, got a little closer, had a chance of taking the lead. And if we just don't start off that slow, get down by 20 plus in the first half, you just never know. Definitely our toughest task of the season. Definitely our, worst performance. But again, I don't think it was a terrible performance. Not as bad as people are making it out to be, not as bad as it looked. I'm trying to be as positive as I can. It's, it gets frustrating watching the games for sure. There's definitely times where I get really frustrated watching certain games and stuff, but there's always room for improvement. There are always going to be, problems. There's always going to be good things. There's a lot of good things I saw yesterday. I'm sure they'll bring that into conference play. They've been playing already together for over a month, so they're only going to continue to get on better. I'm really hoping Jamel, it's the start of a new season, technically, conference, right? So I feel like Jamel might start off really good, get some big, scoring games, and along with Juice, whole team, Sear and Augustine, Sear played a good game. Augustine didn't do a whole lot. Juice played a good game. Again, if we can get Augustine in the mix of that too, and they all 3 play really good games, that'd be awesome. Because I feel like we haven't had a game where all 3 of those guys play well. And I feel like we have more games than not where they're both, or all of them are scoring double figures, or just all playing really, really well, scoring, rebounding, playing hard on the defensive end, being versatile, especially like Juice. We'll do a lot of good things this year in conference. That's going to close out for the video today. Really appreciate you guys for watching the video, and I'm out.